A family are ready to get creative in their first ever garden. Let's send in the garden rescue team to help. New today at 3:45 on BBC One. First, love comes at a price.
It's been a time full of opportunities for unscrupulous scammers.
A time where loneliness and isolation have been preyed upon like never before.
Cases of romance fraud have skyrocketed. It can be an emotionally and financially devastating crime, with victims losing an average of £10,000.
Whether you're retired, a teacher or a doctor, it could happen to anyone.
I can't believe that I believed them.
So we're back to expose the lies behind these audacious cons and to try and stop the scammers in their tracks.
We'll be revealing the tricks these scammers will use to cheat and mislead.
They're exchanging information and it's going to be moved around on a dark web.
And meeting the teams working day and night to bring them to justice.
And as ever, we'll have everything you need to know to make sure you and your money stay safe.
Who the are you?
Don't swear at me, pal.
Coming up, this man faces the truth about a woman he thought was the love of his life.
Devastated. Tried to help this woman that wasn't real.
The Australian man whose image has been used to steal breathtaking sums of money from innocent victims.
I know numbers pretty well, and I'd say it'd easily be north of £2 million.
And the moment this woman realised all was not as it seemed with the US Army surgeon she'd been speaking to.
It just didn't look the same person as on that profile. I felt, oh my God, it was horrible.
We've been contacted by a man called Paul. He's concerned that he may be being scammed by a lady called Rubba. So he sent us this video. Let's have a look.
I was married for 25 years. I've got 3 children. My wife died nearly 5 years ago. So I decided to start going to dating sites and seeing if I can find another partner. Rubba came up on one of them, contacted me by email. She was in Leeds, a nice looking lady. She was saying about extending a relationship, even marriage. I told my children, and I also told my mother she was pleased for me. Eventually, I did fall in love with her. She said she was going out to Ghana. She taught underprivileged children and was going out there for a job. She said, kept on asking for little bits and pieces. Once we were getting over one hurdle, there seemed to be another hurdle with more money. And then it came down to the fact that I basically had got 3 loans out. And then I said to her, well, there's no more money, I'm going to lose the house. And she said, well, sell the house. Basically, that was the red flag for me.
Obviously, he's not sure how he's missed the signs here, but I think he still thinks that Rubba's a real person. So if he's right, he's confused, isn't he?
And maybe he just can't admit it at this stage, and what he needs is us to go and do the work and bring him some hard truths.
I'm going to gather all the information I can about the lady calling herself Rubba.
Whilst I head to meet bus driver and father of 3, Paul, to find out more about their romance.
Let's start by asking what your relationship status had been prior to you meeting your new partner.
I was married to Joanne for 24 years. Sadly, she passed away 5 years ago. After a couple of years, I thought it was time to get back into the dating game.
Would you say you were still maybe a little bit vulnerable?
Still a bit vulnerable, but I thought it was probably take time to find somebody online, and by that time probably it'd be a bit easier.
Paul's work as a bus driver in Hampshire meant working shifts, so online dating was easier than socialising.
Rubba came on and said thank you for the email, and we started then corresponding through Hangout and talking on there on a daily basis then after that.
Whose idea was it to move on to a different platform to speak?
Her idea.
Okay.
Rubba told Paul she was also a widower. Her husband had died of cancer. Originally from France, she said she now lived in Leeds with her young son.
What was it that attracted you to Rubba in the first instance?
She seemed a lovely girl, very pretty, a bit young, but I said that to her and she said age is just a number.
And did you feel you could talk to her? Was she someone that you kind of opened up to, you like?
Yes, she seemed fairly open and I could ask her whatever I wanted.
With so much in common, the two quickly formed a close bond, and after 5 or 6 weeks, Rubba shared some news.
She was supposed to work with autistic children in a school, and that's when it materialised that she was going out to Ghana for a job.
And that's a job that you would immediately think is a really lovely, trustworthy person at this point.
Definitely.
Not long after Rubba had reached Ghana, the couple attempted a video call.
She said she didn't have a camera, but she managed to borrow one once she was out in Ghana from a friend, and we did Skype. But that only lasted for about 20 minutes or so. She kept saying she had problems with her internet connection.
When you were on the Skype, what was the conversation like?
It was just, hello, how are you? Nice to see you, and that was about it, really. There wasn't any sort of conversation as such.
Despite these frustrations over video calls, Rubba managed to communicate that she needed some cash.
She contacted me and said that she'd been put in a hotel with a male colleague in the same room, and that she needed some money to find somewhere else. So that's where the money started to be asked for, to be sent out.
With her child?
Yes.
It's quite unusual for a child.
Well, that's what I thought. Yeah. And I said to her, well, can't you ask the company that sent you out there to pay for it? And she said, no, I can't.
How much did she ask you for then?
Only about £50.
But that initial payment was to be just the tip of the iceberg.
Did you ask her why she didn't have any money?
I did. She said it was all sort of tied up back in the UK and she couldn't get hold of it.
Rubba continued to ask for small amounts of cash every couple of weeks. But Paul couldn't possibly have prepared himself for what was to come next.
She said that all this had been a test to see how honest and gentlemanly I am, I suppose. And then she said the real reason that she's gone out there was to sort out her father's estate, which was supposed to be worth over £100 million. This is when she said that there was supposed to have been 600 kilos of gold in a secure vault.
So her father's estate was all out in Ghana?
Yes, this gold had been put into a safekeeping, and then she said she needed £28,000 to get this gold out.
So what did you do?
I just kept saying that I couldn't get hold of it.
What was your relationship with Rubba like at this point? Did you say you loved each other? Were you making plans?
She was on about us getting a place together and me to start looking for somewhere for us to live as a family. And yes, she said she wanted to marry me and live forever with me.
Rubba said she needed £1,500 to fly this man, a lawyer from France called Francis, to Ghana to negotiate the release of the gold. Paul agreed to send her the money. She then said that Francis had secured a deal for the first batch of gold, but Paul would need to send £10,000 to secure its release.
They kept pushing, and in the end I sort of thought, well, maybe it is true. So I sent the £10,000 out, and then he gave me all the details for the security firm, and I could log in, see that the 600 kilos of gold was there, plus a cash box with $10,000 in it, as well as small gems.
How did you manage to get the £10,000?
I took out a £10,000 loan.
Even though he was now over £10,000 in debt, having seen the gold, Paul felt sure he'd get the money back. He thought all he had to do was sit back and wait for his new life with Rubba to begin.
You were pretty certain then that this was legit, this whole thing?
Francis had sent through his affidavit and certificates to show me, and again I thought, well, it must be real. He sent through these documents.
After paying the deposit, the gold should have been ready to be released, but there was a problem.
And then they said they'd gone to the security firm, and they found then that the manager that Francis had been talking to had now left, and that they wouldn't release the gold with just the £10,000. They needed the other £18,000 now.
What did you think at that point?
I was very upset at the fact that I'd obviously sent this money out and now Francis couldn't deliver.
So you'd already got a £10,000 loan. Presumably getting another 18,000 is going to be pretty tricky.
Yeah.
So what did you do?
Eventually I sort of did give in
and get another £10,000 loan and send that out.
Paul's relationship with Rubba is another story with strong links to Ghana. It's a country that has come up many times in the cases of romance fraud. UK and Ghanaian authorities are working hard to try and stop this crime in its tracks. So I want to find out how widespread it is and how they hope to clamp down on it. I arranged a video call with Emmanuel Manti from the Ghanaian Economic Crime Office.
You know, we've heard anecdotally that you've got call centres, that it's a widespread industry of scamming. Can you just talk to us about the scale of it, please?
For a particular act, you may get about 2 to 10 people involved in it.
For one scam?
For one scam.
Oh my days.
One person may be engaging you on a certain part of conversation. So if it has to do with money transfer, if it has to do with, say, gold, you will have another person chatting you on that. But at the other side, you may be thinking you're only chatting with one person. And then what they also do is that they engage in identity theft. They will pick the identity profile of some other person and then make representations to you as if they are the ones behind the other side of the conversation. And so normally you have between 2 to 10 people involved in the act. Some are used as money moves, others engage in the conversations.
How are all of those different players able to, you know, keep up to speed with the story and the narrative that they've created? That sounds like a lot of hard work.
It is. They plan their scheme over periods, a year or 2 or more.
Don't these people feel guilty? Don't they feel bad for what they're doing?
It's a way to escape poverty. And so they are not looking at the moral effect on the other side.
How much money can someone make over, say, a decade from scamming people?
Up to, say, $10 million.
Whoa. Man, that is insane. How's it been for you and your organisation in terms of actually catching these criminals and bringing them to justice?
Amidst our challenges, we've made lots of gains. We have about 14 successful convictions. Also, we have been able to repatriate monies back to these victims. And we have about over 20 live cases in court now. And so we are hoping that going forward, we will secure convictions and then bring these perpetrators to justice. And also assure these victims by hopefully getting them these funds or repatriating these funds back to them in their respective countries.
Paul Allen is hoping that the money he sent to Ghana might come back to him. When we left his story, he'd already handed over £20,000 to help online girlfriend Rubba claim her inheritance, some 600 kilos of gold. The money he sent supposedly secured the release of the gold. But when it reached the airport to fly back to the UK, it hit another crushing setback.
I got a phone call from somebody that was supposed to have been from the Inland Revenue at the airport, and he needed the tax to be paid on this before it would be released. I said, well, I haven't got that sort of money.
What was that amount?
With £65,000 to be paid for the tax.
So what is Rubba saying at this point?
Rubba is really trying to push for me to find an outcome so we can spend our life together. I then took a remortgage for another £14,000 and sent that out. And then she was on about selling the house.
Well, she was asking you to sell your house?
Sell my house. I said, why can't you sell your house?
The mounting pressure to sell his home piled doubt upon doubt for Paul, and he stopped contact with Rubba. But he still has too many unanswered questions to walk away completely.
What would you like from us?
I'm going on other dating sites. I've seen her on another one, but under a different name, using the same picture she sent to me.
So you want to know who's behind the photo? You
Basically,
want to know
yes.
who that person is?
Yeah.
We'll do our bit. We'll do what we can. Thank you so much. Honestly, thank you for coming and speaking about it. It's not easy. It's really brave, and you'll be helping a lot of people. So.
Thank you.
Rubba says she is currently located in Ghana and has taken the best part of £40,000 of Paul's money. The early signs aren't good, but it's time for me to look into the information Rubba has shared with Paul and see where it leads us.
Now she has sent him some pictures and I'm going to reverse image search it to see what we find.
And, no surprise, Rubba's picture returns a number of different results.
On one dating site, this photo is attached to someone called Linda, who lives in California. Now that is clearly not Rubba. On another site, she's called Ashley. It appears as if someone has stolen a picture of someone and attached the name Rubba to it. This is typical work of a scammer.
And a quick search of Rubba's name reveals even more.
All right, so Rubba has come up on a scam warning website, and it happens to have a testimonial from someone called David. He says, "Thank you for your site. I was able to find a great deal of info and I stopped communication with someone who I believe was scamming me from Ghana." The stark thing about this is that Paul is not the only person who is being duped by this persona.
And after digging around a bit more, I think I've found the real person behind the photos.
One of the things that has come up after a reverse image search is a Twitter account. I want to see who this account belongs to. Well, this account belongs to a lady called Laura, not Rubba. Her bio says celebrity cook and TV host based in New Jersey. Wow. Okay, so her Instagram name is Mrs. Vitali. In other words, she's hitched, she's married. This lady has a kid, she has a husband, and what's really clear is that she'll have her profiles open because she's a public figure. So it would be so easy for a scammer to steal her photos and create fake identities. She even has a YouTube channel. Let's click on a video of Laura.
This is just my version of the recipe. Woo! Are you feeling me yet? Are you excited?
Wow, she's a YouTube star. I wonder if Laura knows that her image is being used on dating profiles.
Australian businessman Joe Cross was contacted by strangers online claiming that they had been scammed by him. But all was not as it seemed, and Joe was determined to find out more.
I'm certainly no picture of health. I look like I've swallowed a sheep.
The film Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead documented Joe Cross's remarkable life transformation and 7-stone weight loss. After its release online in 2011, the film generated a huge following for Joe, with his social media bombarded by people also keen to turn their lives around. But it clearly attracted the attention of fraudsters too. Every day, he receives up to 15 messages from people saying they have been conned out of money by scammers using his photographs.
Joe, it's great to meet you. How you doing?
I'm good, actually. All good. Can't complain down here in Sydney, Australia.
I understand that you have had your identity stolen. Why is it that your images may have been used by scammers?
Why my images are used is a mystery to me. I have some theories. I'm posting quite a bit to social media. Yeah. And because I'm not so well known, but I'm quite regular in my posting, I think that makes me a target for lots of scammers from all parts of the world, basically trying to swindle money with fake love scams.
Joe's identity has been used so many times that he has his own hashtag, JoeCrossFakes, which lists over 500 fake profiles on Instagram that use his image.
At least 80% of those messages are about fake people, fake scammers, dating sites, people reporting into me. So these are all the fake accounts.
Unbelievable.
You know, here's one, Frankie 7766. You know, they're all there, mate.
Hey, I'm on it now, Joe.
And this is just one platform.
You've got this relatively public profile. To see that these scammers are infiltrating your public image, how does that make you feel?
I think actually, if I was more famous, it wouldn't happen, right? See, it's this middle ground where you are. If you're really famous, everyone knows who George Clooney and these people are, right? I mean, it's a laugh, right? If you came in with that. And if you're nobody and you're not posting, then the scammer can't get the content.
How that content is used can range from the ridiculous to the extremely technical.
I've had some photos sent back to me where they photoshopped my face into people who are in like incarcerated in like a jumpsuit with chains, and it's so obvious that my head's been photoshopped on. Another way what happens is that on my YouTube videos or on some of my Instagram lives, they will record those and then dub in the voice, and they'll do a Skype call or a video call with the person they're targeting, and then they'll have my image up, and it'll be a grainy sort of video.
So, Ani, if you can grant me this app I'm asking from you, I will be so very happy. So that as soon as I'm out from the camp here, I'll come over there to you.
And they'll complain and make a statement that it's bad reception, or they're on the ship, or they're on the oil rig. And so they will utilize the image and the video, and that, you know, it's very unsophisticated, but it can have a very devastating effect.
Do you know how much money has exchanged hands because of your photos?
I know numbers pretty well, and I'd say it'd easily be north of £2 million.
That is, I thought you were going to say like $500,000 or something.
I think it's much bigger because the number of people who are embarrassed and don't even want to say how much they lost.
Have people who've been scammed contacted you?
Oh, yeah. So generally what happens, it's mostly a family member of the person being scammed who is trying to connect and break through to their mother or their grandmother that they are not talking to who they think they are.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking sometimes £70,000 just being handed over. And these are their life savings. And this is just absolutely tragic.
Yeah, I mean, when you first got wind of this, it must have been a shock for you.
Oh, it's just devastating that your own image is used for this sort of, you know, it's just a total takedown of someone's life. And it's a devastating effect that it just doesn't go away.
What are some of the worst cases people have contacted you about?
Well, first of all, I'd say that every case is awful.
Of course.
No matter how much money's lost. I think that, you know, what a very, very sad situation was a grandson contacted me about his grandmother who had, in Germany, the grandmother had spent 70,000 euros with a scammer using my identity, and she didn't have that money. She basically took a mortgage out on her property. She's going to lose her home. And I mean, that's just, you know, this is, I don't know how many levels of wrong you need to get to be into that situation.
He even occasionally meets people who have been scammed with his photographs face to face.
At events, when I go on tour, I will get women sort of pulling me aside and telling me the only way I know you is because I met you, or I thought I met you on a dating site or on playing a online game.
Joe, what about the scammers themselves? Have any of them contacted you?
No one's called up and said, I'm the one scamming, all right? I don't think that's their MO. I think their MO is to hide behind these technology and just to destroy lives and destroy livelihoods, and in many cases, destroy people.
So unfortunately, Joe, this is likely to happen again. It's, of course, it's a dangerous space. What is your advice to someone who thinks they may be getting scammed?
I would ask immediately for a photo where you instruct the person to do something where it's highly unlikely they would have a scammed photo of it. And that might be like sticking 2 fingers in your ears, putting 2 fingers on the forehead, making an image with hand on face that you generate the idea about, and ask immediately for a photo to be sent to you with that happening. Because if they can't generate that, then you know you're being scammed.
Joe, thank you so much for talking to us, and I really hope that this will help people.
Thanks, Ashley.
Scammers make victims believe they're the love of their life, whilst the reality is they're the worst enemy someone could wish for. But too often, it's only once the scam is over that the victim realises this, as our next case shows.
Morven Labbett from Southam, West Midlands, has known significant personal tragedy. And though it took her a while, eventually she started to come to terms with it.
My husband passed away 13 years ago. He died from cancer. You know, when you lose somebody, you're lonely and you want to move on. He'd have wanted me to move on, so I did.
68-year-old Morven joined dating website Plenty of Fish and almost immediately attracted the attention of US military doctor Atwood Griffin.
He approached me within about 20 minutes of putting my profile on. He said, "Hello, how are you? I'm a doctor and I see you did nursing and wonder if we have anything in common." He made me feel very special, very important, really.
Atwood immediately began to confide in Morven, sharing details of similar tragedies in their lives.
He told me he had lost his wife in a car crash. He was German, but he had been living in UK for X number of years, but he was based out in Syria, treating a lot of the injured military personnel.
And just like with Rubba in Paul's case, he claimed he was sitting on a small fortune, a fortune he was willing to share with Morven.
He said, "Well, I want to get back and I really want to take early retirement, but first I have to get this gold over." I was presented with it for outstanding service. So he actually sent me a photograph on WhatsApp of the gold.
Atwood told her that in order to start their new life together, he'd need Morven's help to move the gold.
He said, "It'll be a lot easier if you pretend you're my wife." And I said, "But I'm not your wife, that's lying." He says, "Yes, but it doesn't matter for them." He says, "Just pretend it, just say it." He kept emphasising about the trust. If you love somebody, you'll trust them.
Again, just like in Rubba and Paul's story, Atwood said he'd need help paying for the movement of the gold. He claimed his bank account had been frozen for security purposes due to his military work in Syria.
I said, "How much do you need, really?" And he says, "The shipping company wanted £6,500 or something." I said, "Oh, no, that's a heck of a lot. No, I wouldn't do that, no."
When she refused, Atwood said he'd talk to the shipping company to see if he could negotiate a smaller fee.
I got an email which was from the shipping company, said they would accept a deposit of £2,500 and accept the rest at a later date. So I foolishly gone and sent him £2,500.
But another problem arose to complicate the transaction.
I got an email saying the package has been seized at the customs due to its contents and where it's going. When I said, "How much is it?" they said £6,000. Atwood said, "Oh, I can get it reduced and we'll pay the rest later."
It was only after handing over a further £1,200 that Morven became a little anxious about who Atwood really was.
I started thinking, something not right here.
Morven became so suspicious, she decided to ask Atwood for a video call, something they'd never done before.
And I was just, oh my God, taken aback because he looked so different. I thought, I'm going to do a screenshot of him, and I just did the screenshot quick and clicked it, and I hung up. He just didn't look the same person as on that profile. I just looked at the picture and I felt, oh my God, it was horrible.
The fact the person on the video call didn't look like the person claiming to be Atwood in the photographs concerned Morven. She plucked up the courage to tell her daughter Cleona, who did some online investigating.
I had to tell her I was scammed, which wasn't a good feeling.
Cleona found photos of Atwood attached to profiles with different names, most likely an innocent party who's had their photographs used by a scammer, as we've seen many times before.
It started to unfold that it was a total scam.
But despite evidence stacking up against him, the scammer continued to pull out all the stops to convince Morven he was real.
There was these roses. Apparently they were sent from Germany. The card said, our hearts belong to one another.
But Morven wasn't going to be conned again and cut all links to the man she knew as Atwood Griffin. However, the loss of nearly £4,000 has left its mark on Morven.
They've robbed my grandchildren for when I pass on, leaving them, so they've actually robbed them more than they've robbed me. I don't trust anybody anymore. These people need to be stopped. It made me realise, God, it's so easy to get scammed, so easy. And the thing is, you're getting scammed and don't know you're happening to you. That's the worst thing, you don't know it's happening to you until it's too late.
Earlier in the programme, we saw how scammers had manipulated pictures of Joe Cross to make their story seem more realistic. I've come to meet tech expert and journalist Darian Graham-Smith to see if there are any technological tricks at work in the documents Rubba sent to Paul Allen.
Darian, so I've got some documents relating to Paul's case. What can you tell me here?
Well, I mean, in the 21st century, a photo doesn't really prove anything. It would be very easy to take someone's face and stick it on top of, the face that's already in the photo. And I believe if you look at the textures of the faces, you'd have to be really suspicious and a little bit cautious. But you can see the girl's face there. It's just slightly different colouring, slightly sharper. Doesn't seem to quite fit with everything else that's going on in the picture.
Yeah.
And then when you look at this one, someone's photoshopped an Arsenal t-shirt onto this photo. They haven't done a very expert job. You can very clearly see fringes around the edge.
So you can clearly see that Photoshop has been used in these pictures, can't you?
Photoshop has definitely been used in this picture, and it looks an awful lot like it has been used in this picture too. That doesn't necessarily mean you're dealing with a scammer, but it's not definitely on the up and up either.
To help verify her story, Rubba sent Paul pictures of her passports. But do they reveal anything sinister?
If there was any doubt before, I think these passport pictures do confirm our fears that something shady is going on here. And at first glance, if you just look at this picture, there's two reasons I can point to straight off. One is just the colouring. If you look at that photograph, it's much brighter, much lighter than the rest of the passport.
Wow.
If you look at your own passport, you'll see that the photo is actually printed onto the paper. It's all of a piece. Here, it looks very much like someone has stamped another image on top of an existing passport. Also, they haven't done a great job with the two lines at the bottom, these long ones with all the little arrows. That does appear on a normal British passport, but on a normal British passport, it's straight. And if you look, you can see it's actually slightly wonky.
It is wonky.
Yeah, not brilliant. If at this point you're starting to get very suspicious, another thing I noticed is we're told that that's her old passport and that's her new passport. Yeah. They've both got the same passport number in the top right, which is not what the passport office does.
Oh my days, of course it does.
It all adds up to a Frankenstein document.
Is there anything else that looks a bit suspect to you?
Well, if you're still looking for reasons to be distrustful, if you dig out your own British passport and have a look at the dates on it, you'll see they're given twice, once in English, and then there's a slash, and then they have the dates in French.
Yeah.
On these documents, the dates are given in English twice, and they're different.
That is baffling.
Paul Allen sent over £30,000 to a woman called Rubba he met online and who he admits he'd fallen in love with. But unlike Morven's story we heard earlier, Paul is still searching for the truth. Well, that's where we come in, and I'm afraid what we've discovered isn't good news. Rubba is just a myth, with the scammers having stolen a celebrity chef's identity.
Go down, and there are photos on her Instagram page that have been used to create the profile of Rubba.
So I think this is going to hit him
Yeah.
quite hard.
It's time to get Paul in to break the news.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
And how are you feeling about today?
Apprehensive.
Yeah?
Don't know what's going to come out of this.
Rubba had sent Paul this image of her in an Arsenal shirt, but after some investigation, all is not what it seems.
When this photo was sent to you, what was your take on that?
That she was trying to support me because of the fact she knew I was an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, well, look, this has been photoshopped. You can see it's back to front on the shirt, isn't it?
Yeah.
As well as that, you can see the rough and blurred edged lines around the shirt. How does that make you feel?
Rather upset, the fact that she'd do something like this.
Sadly, this isn't the only image they photoshopped. Paul also interacted with a lawyer called Francis, who Rubba hired to help secure her inheritance, 600 kilos of gold. This photo was sent to Paul to supposedly prove that Francis and Rubba had held meetings about securing its release.
This might come as a bit of a shock, but we've discovered that the two men who are supposedly businessmen are actually former basketball players.
Really?
As well as that, it looks as if Rubba has been photoshopped into this image.
It's very clever.
Yeah.
But again, why would you look for that?
Yeah.
You're not going to think that, are you, at the time?
Yeah.
This is a woman, you know, she's been sending you messages for 18 months and you guys are planning a life.
Yeah.
Why would you
That's
think
right, yeah.
that someone... It wouldn't enter your head to do those things.
No.
Amongst the documents Paul got from Rubba were pictures of her passports.
Now, if you dig out your own British passport, you will see that the dates appear twice, once in English, once in French. In these passports, the date only appears once. That suggests that it's been doctored.
She always said she was a God-fearing woman as well, so that sort of puts that into your mind that, you know, she's not going to do this sort of thing.
It's trust.
Yeah.
As bad as it is, there's some more stuff we want to show you.
Okay.
We found numerous pages warming of scams under that name. You can see here an email address, the name Rubba, that photo.
Which also tells you that you aren't the only person that's fallen for this.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable.
It's time to hit Paul with the bombshell of who the person in the photographs really is.
Our reverse image searches led us to a social media chef by the name of Laura Vitale. As you can see, it is a blue tick verified account with a lot of followers. And we were able to get hold of a copy of her cookery book. Now, to you, that's Rubba.
Yep.
With all of this information, Paul, I'm so sorry to break it to you. Rubba is not who she said she was.
And yet we Skyped and it looked like her.
Did you actually speak, or were you typing and seeing a picture?
No, we did speak for a while, but it,
But
it was very brief.
Bad reception?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
As we heard earlier from Joe Cross, scammers steal online videos but add their own voices to create the impression they are speaking live with their target.
So, honey, if you can grant me this help I'm asking from you, I will be so very happy.
And it's pretty clear where the fraudsters got Rubba's video from for the Skype calls with Paul.
Hi guys, happy Labor Day!
My guess is that the video chat you had has been lifted from that YouTube channel.
Yeah.
When Paul asked to see a picture of him with Rubba and her son, the scammers manipulated a picture of Laura and her child, placing Paul in the shot, adding emotional weight and credibility to the relationship.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you feeling?
Yeah, devastated. The fact that she's the love of my life that's done all this. Tried to help this woman that wasn't real.
We tried to call Rubba to put our discoveries to her, but she doesn't pick up.
How common is it for her to not take your call?
Not very common.
Instead, pretending to be Paul, I called the other key player in this, Francis, the lawyer who supposedly negotiated the release of Rubba's gold.
Hello?
Hello, is this Francis Boyer? How are you?
I'm fine.
Hi, it's Paul here. I'm just calling about Rubba. How is she?
Who is that?
It's Paul here. I'm in the relationship with Rubba.
I'm not understanding. You say what?
Francis, I'm sorry to tell you, but I'm not actually Paul. I am working with him though. My name is Ashley John Baptiste. You're being recorded for broadcast for the BBC. And we believe that Francis Boyer is a fake identity that you've created as part of a scam.
Who gave you my number?
Where is Paul's money?
I don't have money.
You don't have money, but you are part of a scam that has taken an innocent man's money.
Hey, I want to speak. Oh, you can call me.
Francis, you've taken over £40,000 from me.
I did. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Francis, why? No, it's hung up.
You must be feeling all sorts of emotions right now. What hurts you the most?
I suppose Rubba, losing Rubba. A relationship.
There is only one thing left for you to do. Block all of these people, and you do not make contact with them ever again. They are not real. All they want is your money.
I hope it doesn't put you off trying to find someone, because I think you're a very nice man, and you clearly are a good man, and you deserve to be happy.
Thank you. Yeah, it was emotional. Finding out Rubba was fake and not the love of my life. I'm glad I know the truth now.
That phone call was really telling to me because it seemed as if the lawyer had no clue who Rubba was and who Paul was.
No.
But I suppose what's reassuring is that Paul now clearly knows Rubba isn't real.
Yeah, he does. And Francis and anybody else that's connected with him.
If you think you've been scammed in a similar way or been asked to send money to someone you've been talking to online, then we'd like to hear from you. Email us at loveormoney@bbc.co.uk.
Join us again.
All those years and all that money.
As victims try to move on from the pain of being scammed.
If it wasn't for Pete Doherty, he was the lifesaver at that particular time.
Details of organisations offering information and support with fraud are available at bbc.co.uk/actionline.
To celebrate the platinum